Moving on, I do want to give you guys just a sort of a quick over the top, not over the top, but sort of headline briefing of federal policy activity updates, just in terms of the last week. Right, we do meet every week, so want to take a look at what's happened in the week since we met. As it relates to COVID-19 and the CARES Act, you are very much familiar with the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Assistance, Relief, and Emergency Act, CARES. That may not spell CARES, but it should. A couple of big updates this week. There were the first, from what I could tell, the first in a series, or among the first of hearings on Capitol Hill, where specifically the Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and the Federal Reserve Chairman, I think his name is Stephen Powell or something like that, had to go before Congress and talk about what went wrong and what went right with the PPP and the EIDL loans. Also this week, or in the last couple of weeks actually, the SBA's Inspector General released a report looking at specifically the PPP and the EIDL programs, and we have links to those reports in the notes, and we'll put them in the Slack channel and also in the email blast that goes out. But just one word about the hearings and the report. A lot of what we've been talking about in terms of our own advocacy at a federal level, as you are aware, this group is a part of a number of groups that have been working together to push for advocacy at the federal level too, and for new COVID stimulus at the federal level. A lot of what we were talking about showed up in the IG report, specifically about data. It turns out, and it sounds like that the CARES Act, Section 1102, actually told the Treasury and told people who were getting money from PPP and from EIDL to collect demographic data, okay? But they didn't collect it, all right? And so we have a bigger issue now, because before we just thought y'all just never collected it because y'all just didn't want it and y'all never even thought about it. But really, it's no, they told you to get it and you didn't get it. And so now we have a bigger problem, right? And so this is going to fully arm our advocacy going forward. You can better believe that the conversations with some of these legislators now is probably going to get a lot more serious, because right now they are in violation, it looks like, of what Section 1102 of what the CARES Act says to do. So I want to just give you guys a quick piece there on what's going on with federal CARES Act stuff. Any questions, comments, feedback on this? All right. Just one heads up too. We did have last week, we talked about the HEROES Act, and the HEROES is an acronym. I'm not going to remember what it is, but it was passed by the House. It's the House's $3 trillion next stimulus bill, right? We heard last week, the Senate doesn't want anything to do with this. The president, says it's DOA. But actually this week, Treasury Secretary Mnuchin said, quote, there was a, quote, strong likelihood of a need for more COVID-19 bailout money. And then a couple days later, like Friday or Thursday, President Trump, when he was asked, said, yeah, he thinks there's going to have to be more done. So that just goes to show you that, you can start the week with politicians saying we ain't going to do this at all, and then you can end the week with them saying we are going to do this and everything with it. Okay, so just a heads up, there is more COVID-19 stimulus coming. We've already known this, and we've been working on a lot of this. So this is a heads up in terms of what's going on nationally, federally. There is also that SOS Act, Saving Our Streets Act, which is a Senate bill that is supposed to be like the anti-PPP or the anti-EIDL bill, where you get specific money to small and very, very, very small businesses, what they call very small businesses, micro businesses. So we'll see how that progresses. There hasn't been any movement on that in the last week, and I still can't find any. I still can't find the bill actually like registered or like in print. So again, that could just be that they're just taking their time with it. It's not uncommon, but just want to make a note that I still can't find it, other than what they are sending out in terms of promo. statewide, I want to jump down to the state. We are in stage 2 of our reopening phases, our reopening roadmap. As you all know, California put together a 4-stage reopening roadmap strategy, resiliency roadmap, the way they talked about it. Stage 2, huh? Oh, sorry.
Like more stage. It seemed like we jumped from stage 2 to stage 3 in one day or something like that, but they just haven't made it official.
Yeah, so good point. Actually, I want to share my screen if I could, and to show you this, because you're making a good point there, Lori. A couple of good points, and again, forgive me if I get choppy here. I'm going to pop into the notes, open up the hyperlink here to the resiliency roadmap. I'll go back up real quick. This is where we are supposed to be right now, early stage 2. Okay, and so this is where we're supposed to be right now. Stage 2, early stage 2 looks like this. Right, gradually reopening some lower risk workplaces with adaptations at a pace designed to protect public health and safety, starting with retail, manufacturing, offices, outdoor museums, limited personal services, right? However, there is the opportunity for different counties to move faster and do more things. So for example, here in Sacramento, we had like our restaurants, like our dine-in restaurants have started to open up again. So you can actually go inside and sit down. That started this week because I think our region has got like a county variance, or it's just a way to say that your local county can probably move faster than the state if it meets specific criteria. And I want to show you actually one of the, this is from the Sacramento County, I think Public Health, Sacramento County Public Health Department. This is I think this came like this week. This is our Sacramento County Public Health variance to stage 2. So this is our county's plan, or our county's way of moving a little bit faster than the state. Okay, and obviously you have to, in order to move faster than the state, you have to meet certain health criteria, right? But as you can see, it's pretty well spelled out here for the different types of industries. It talks about the different stages, the different categories, when folks can start to reopen. So in Sacramento, we are in part 2 of stage 2. Stage 2 has 2 parts: a stage 1, or part 1, and a part 2. We have moved into part 2 of stage 2 a little bit earlier, I think, as a county, based on these local variances. And so you should expect to see something similar in your own area in terms of local variances. Every one of our counties, I think, should have something similar to this, or is probably working on something similar to this. And as I said, right now, as of Friday, you can go into a dine-in restaurant, okay? All right, with some safety precautions, put in place. And the governor's office also here, and I have a link to it. And I can tell, trust me, I'm hesitant to go into a restaurant. I'm hesitant to go anywhere with anybody else, okay, right now. But the state has also given every single industry a specific set of guidelines. Okay, so I'm on the state's website right here, right now. This is the industry guidance, and you can look up your own industry and see what your own specific rules are and when you can do, your own reopening, right? So I guess want to point out that the state has specific guidance. Let me pause there. Questions, comments, feedback on reopening.
This is stupid, and I don't care. It's stupid. And the reason I say it's stupid, Maryland is doing the same thing. The two biggest counties with the largest African-American populations are still closed, but all the surrounding counties. So what's stopping somebody, and same with Virginia. Northern Virginia is closed, but Southern Virginia. What's stopping somebody from a neighboring county in any of these states from going over and either picking up or infecting people? And then we're probably gonna have another wave, in the fall. But what's to stop people from different counties from going over there? So this does not make any sense. They're not doing this in other countries. It's uniform across the entire, country. And this is not This is not going to be good
Yeah.
for us.
And also, is there any type of protections or anything being discussed? Because just like you said, it doesn't make any sense if one county's open and the neighboring county's not open. But also, if people are going out to dine in a restaurant and then they're coming to work, because my office is talking about opening up on June 1st. So even if I didn't go out to eat, if I'm working with these people who went out to eat. I mean, I just don't see how it's going to make much of a difference.
Yeah. One thing to add on the I know for here in Sacramento, the city has been like offering free PPE for business owners, free. Like, they have thousands of masks they were trying to distribute to restaurant owners over the last 72 hours. I've been trying to share a lot of that information with Black business owners. The city has a stockpile of these masks and gloves and stuff like that. Obviously, the requirements are, for businesses are different now. The costs are going to be higher. They're going to have to operate with less seating, right? They still have those precautions in terms of the social distancing. But you're right. If you're in a restaurant, I mean, you're at a higher risk. But as of Friday, you can go and dine in a restaurant here in Sacramento. I'm sure there are going to be other places to follow.
They were showing on the news some places that were as packed as if like nothing's going on, like the beaches and stuff. These white folks is like out here, like acting like
Black people
is,
too.
Yeah,
Black people too.
Black people too. Thank you. I saw a club in Atlanta. I saw a picture of a club in Atlanta. You guys see that picture? No mask, nothing. Like nothing had happened. Literally, like club was going on. I'm like, really? In Atlanta?
Scary. That's scary. That's scary.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And
We gotta watch those numbers.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we started with the health briefing, right? And we looked at the top line numbers, right? All those arrows were going up for California.
Right.
All
Right.
those were going up.
So from
So
here,
really
my question is are there any protections in place for, say ADOS that doesn't feel comfortable going back, opening up so early, going back into confined office spaces? I mean, as far as unemployment's concerned, or do you know which unions or agencies we would look at to?
most employers are following the federal guidelines, and the federal guidelines are not yet at least open. Like, for instance, I work for a bank, which is an essential job. So really, technically, if they needed to, they could say everyone, we're essential. But they've let most of us work remotely. And even now, they said maybe June 1st, they want to start having people come back, but they asked for volunteers. And they said HR is not going to force anyone if they don't feel comfortable. It's totally their decision to come back, and they're looking for volunteers. And if you say you don't feel comfortable right now, then basically that's it. They're not going to bother you.
A lot of companies are also not trying to get sued for making people come back, and then the whole office getting infected and all that. That's bad for PR too. Now, I have seen where some employers are requiring employees to come back who might be considered essential, and folks have retained lawyers, but that is far and few in between. Probably like at some of the smaller businesses, people might not be that ethical. But I don't know about other states, but I feel like in California, people are being, employers are being a little more reasonable. Even at the grocery stores, people are completely covered up with masks and gloves and everything else. So I have not seen or heard of any issues, but there's always a lawyer available.
We should not feel intimidated that retaliation will be coming if we say, oh,
there's plenty of lawyers who would take that type of case.
Well, we got a problem too, because we got another problem on this, and this came up actually in the hearings, the CARES Act hearings this week. One of the senators asked Secretary Mnuchin. He said something like, "It is one of these Republican senators, so they were like anti-unemployment insurance because they think it's just going to make people lazy and never go back to work." So the senator asked Mnuchin, "Hey, why do we need another bailout? We got all this stuff already. You got so much unemployment, and people are not wanting to come to work now because because I got people who want to have a PPP loan, but in order to have a PPP loan, they have to bring employees back, but the employees want unemployment and they don't want to come back now. Okay? And so Mnuchin said, if you have a job, if you can bring your employees back and you have a job for an employee and you reach out and they say, no, I want to stay on unemployment insurance, those people can lose their unemployment insurance by refusing that job. Okay, so that's a problem, right? That's potentially a problem because if we're moving faster than we should be moving, right? You're basically you're basically taking away a protection for people in terms of unemployment insurance and making them come back into the labor market faster, and that's written into the rules right now.
I think that's BS that was brought up because if somebody, I mean, people are looking for jobs. Let's be realistic. And so I think that was a cop-out excuse that they tried to use to not give more unemployment or continue unemployment benefits, from the federal benefits to the states. Because, you can easily replace somebody if you tell them to come back, but also the employer has to deny or dispute the unemployment insurance if the person continuing to certify, at least in the state of California, they're not going to keep continuing to send that certification letter to your original employer. They're not going to do that. So that means that they would have to restart certification all over again.
I think regular California unemployment, even outside of COVID-19, says if you refuse work, that's basically grounds to kick you off of unemployment. And they would consider that a refusal of work.
Yeah, but there's two things. It's refusal of work. They ask, have you refused any work and have you looked for work? So I don't, again, number one, nobody's checking. They are paying people right now. They're overpaying people right now because there was a backlog in the system. And so I just don't think anybody's checking. And again, somebody going back into the employer, they would actually have to go back to the employer and say, did this person refuse to come back to work? And I don't think they're nitpicking like that because it would take too much time and they don't have the bodies. I think people for right now, for the most part, are safe. And I think if they're not going back to work because they don't feel safe, people understand. I cannot see an unemployment insurance claim getting denied for that reason. But that's just me.
But in HR people from home, I had a person tell me that they're working from home and they picked up mail and brought it to them and they were just going through mail that was like almost 3 weeks old because they were having bundles of letters and things like that being delivered to the HR person at home, but they're only doing it on a such and such. So you might be right about that because the employer would have to catch it in a letter from an EDD or something like that the person refused.
Okay, guys, here's what I want to say because my friend does that. So unemployment has hired like over 1,000 people just to do the claims. I have a friend that's actually working from home. They have always said that if you refuse work, that they can deny your claim. And they're serious about that. I mean, I wouldn't want to take that chance. And then the other thing I think our people aren't aware of is that money is taxable. So at the end of the year, that extra $600 that they're giving us or giving people that are on unemployment, in addition to your wages, unless you're taking money out of that to pay it, it's going to be taxed at the end of the year. So you're really going to owe some money if you don't set that up correctly.
What do you mean?
FYI.
There's an option for you to check to have your federal taxes taken out on the form.
Right.
Yeah, but typically most people want all that money, right? But what they don't tell them is at the end of the year, you're going to have to pay some of that back.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Now, SDI is not taxable. If they're on workers' comp or just state disability, that income is not taxable, but unemployment is. Just know that. So just put some dollars aside to pay the man at the end of the year.
Yeah, good point. Thank you for that, Vanita. Appreciate that. Very, 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 very good point.
Chris, you're muted.
You're on mute, Chris.
Mute. I was saying, let's move the conversation forward if we can. We're not too far off time, so that's good. What I want to do is just make one word about as we wrap up the state briefing part. Last week we did a fiscal situation and budget look. Right, we know that the state of California is in a $54+ billion budget hole right now. Okay, after we started the year with a $16+ billion surplus, with some $16 billion in a rainy day fund somewhere that was sitting around. All that's supposed to be gone. And so we are in deep doo-doo, okay, in terms of state spending. People are already talking about budget cuts. Right before this call, I was fielding like petition letters from all kinds of groups talking about don't cut this and tell the governor don't cut that and make sure the legislature doesn't cut this. So this is a fight that is just gearing up. All right, so just be expecting that there will be budget-related fights both locally for where you are as an ADOS organizer, right, your own local area, as well as statewide. So we are going to be, with our sleeves rolled up for probably the rest of the year, because this is going to go through October most likely in terms of the legislature. So I wanted to say that, and yes, you're right, Vanita. In the chat of State and County are talking about furloughs and layoffs. They're talking about cuts to this, cuts to that, right? So be ready, fam. Okay, this is another iteration, another theater of the war is opening up on us. We were dealing first with the immediate response to COVID-19, right? And what the governor was doing, right? And what the governor had power to do, and what the local agencies have power to do. Now, as the legislature has come back early this month, we're seeing a new front open up as it relates to spending and budgets. So just a heads up, be ready for that. All right, that's the only word I want to say on that, because I don't want to go through the whole PowerPoint on the budget. But if you want to see the slides, let me know. Before we wrap up this part, I did want to take just a minute, like I usually do, to overview and over-review, if that's the right way to put it. Probably not. So let's overview what our response strategy has been so far. And I try to say this every time we talk, because as organizers, it's important to think from the strategic level, right? And then think about the tactics that help the strategy. But from the strategic level, we've had sort of a three-stepped, or three ways of approaching our response. One has been to organize, two has been to advocate, and three has been to serve, right? So it's organize, advocate, serve. That's been the response from most of this group and from most of our individual groups so far. We've been doing one or more or all of those three things. So either we've been organizing, whether that's coming together with our own group and our own community, continuing to do that, or coming to these meetings, right, or holding different meetings. It's been advocating, so you've been talking to legislators, or you've been online, or you've been doing some other sort of advocacy, and then service, right? We've been working to serve our communities, whether you've been pooling resources, you've been holding roundtables with Black business owners, you've been out feeding homeless, you've been doing whatever you're doing. It's been some sort of service. So we've been working as a group of ADOS Californians for the whole year, or at least since this crisis hit us. Even without even knowing it, we've been working sort of together on this to organize, advocate, and serve. I just want to say that. I try to make mention of that every time we talk, so that we are working from the same organizing framework. That is that for that piece. I do want to just ask quickly, are there any local activity updates that folks want to talk about in terms of what they've been doing locally since the last time we met? So not stuff that's gonna happen, and not stuff that's not able to be shared for the public, but just in terms of the last week, right? What has anyone done anything or been up to anything in terms of their local group locally as it relates to COVID-19 that they want to share? So quick check-in.
I've just been calling I called the CVC. I tried to call all of them. I didn't quite make it to all of them, but before the HEROES Act was in place, to urge them to, include us. So then after the HEROES Act was announced, that the House proposed, I've been emailing them, following up, emailing them. So Yeah, that's where it is. And
Thank you.
yeah.
That's good work. Advocacy, right? We're gonna, there'll be a lot of that, but thank you for that. Thank you for taking the initiative on that. We gotta be, as Yvette says, right? Politicians respond to pressure, not applause, right? And as Yvette says, also advocacy is a drumbeat, so we just have to keep it up, right? So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else want to give just any sort of a check-in in terms of what they've been up to locally as a group, as it relates to either advocacy, organizing, or service in the last week specifically?
I need to do a little bit more research on this, but I did share with our Bay Area group that there is a group here that I guess a couple groups came together here. The leading group being the anti-terror,
Anti-Police Terror Project.
Yeah, and have you guys talked about that, the Black New Deal?
No, we haven't talked about it here, but I'm familiar with them and some other stuff.
Okay, so back in April, they came up with this thing called the Black New Deal, hashtag the Black New Deal for Oakland that they've really been pushing. And I just kind of saw it, came across my desk, and I had sent it to Marguerite, and she hadn't seen it before, and then I just kind of let it go, and then it came up again, so then I kind of sent it to the full group just earlier this week, and I think we need to look into it a little bit more. I was on a town hall with our Oakland mayor this last week, and they kept putting it in the chat, and because I guess Oakland has a racial disparities task force now, where they're trying to address the COVID-19 racial disparities in Oakland and things like that. And so there's this Oakland Black New Deal. Yeah, there you go. Put the hashtag in there. I will actually put, because I just Googled it so I could find it. But they're using a lot of our language from ADOS 101. I'm reading right here in the third, in the third line, it says, which the descendants of slaves, Black, African American, so they have a whole new deal that they're really pushing. And I think, like I said, we haven't really talked about it any further than that. Let me put the link in the chat right now. But,
Definitely.
They got some of the language from ADOS, I know for sure. And we need to either be a part of it, let them know we're here, something. That's just what I feel. So yeah. I think ADOS Bay Area, we could be talking about that, but it's all California here, so you guys can know. I just dropped it in the chat right there, but it's a whole full deal of demands and set-asides and things like that.
Yeah, bring it on.
So be aware of that, that people are pushing that here in Oakland, not necessarily ADOS Bay Area. So I just know a couple of the people involved in it.
Love it. This is great. Lori, did you have a question? Were you asking, was that a part of the Tom Steyer task force? I think it's
same thing.
Yeah.
The Tom Steyer's task?
Yeah, it's a governor, it's a state task force that the governor created as a task force on business and economics related to COVID-19. The governor created it a few weeks. He put Tom Steyer, former presidential candidate Tom Steyer, as one of the co-chairs of the task force. But it sounds like what you're talking about really is something specific to Oakland, right?
Yeah, this is specific to Oakland, like Assemblymember Rob Bonta's on it. There's Lynette McElhaney, city council member, so a few folks.
Love it.
And the Tom Steyer task force is not just economic, it's many variables. We just happened to get the person that was in charge of the economic aspect of it. I think it's across. So maybe that's something we can tell them they should look into, adopting that, if there's equity component of the task force. Chris, do they break down these particular like different committees and different groups that Jamia said that they had broken off into this task force? Did we get anything from that?
I haven't seen any follow-up from that in terms of what she was talking about in terms of how that was breaking down. And for folks who are not aware, we had a meeting last week with Jamia Jackson, who is representing or part of helping to create and staff that state level task force. And the way she described it is that, you know, it's one big task force and then they're broken down into committees. I haven't seen anything in terms of how the committees are broken down, but I know she did mention something about a racial equity piece to that and sort of breakdown. I'm interested in that, for that reason, the reason that Rita's bringing it up, but also because it sounds like there may be some opportunities for even our local areas to do something specific like this, right? So, you know, where's the Sacramento racial equity task force, right? Where's the LA racial equity task force? Where's the San Diego one? Right? Where's the California one? But, you know, like, where's the statewide one?
This is interesting. I'm looking at the website. I recognize some of these names because they're here in Southern California too.
Yeah, we definitely gonna follow up on this. Thank you for that, Rita. Appreciate that.
On the Black New Deal?
Yes. There's at least 2 people so far that I see, and they're not, at least one of them is not ADOS. So.
Okay. Yeah, you guys all check that out. We should follow up maybe in the next meeting about it.
For sure. Yeah, no, this will definitely, I'll have this on the meeting to come back up in this local activity update section.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Rita.